That's right.
And I'm certain how if someone's going to ask us questions, or if you guys want to ask us questions, or maybe we just chat about trading.
About who we are.
Okay, I'm Joby. I'm Joby Weeks from Breckenridge, Colorado, and I've been in Bitcoin since it was 85 cents a Bitcoin. I got my first Bitcoin on the Silk Road. It was really kind of funny. My friend just kept on harassing me, you gotta look at Bitcoin, you gotta look at Bitcoin. And finally, just to get him to shut up and leave me alone, I was like, okay, here's $200. He's like, well, you don't give it to me, you have to go down to CVS, or Walgreens it was, you know, get yourself a green dot card. I never heard of a green dot card before. So I get this green dot card, and then all of a sudden, he's telling me I need to download this thing called Tor. So I find Tor, and he's like, now go on Wikipedia, there's this website called the Silk Road. You gotta cut and paste this link on the Tor thing because it's hidden. It's called the Deep Web, and I'm like, oh my god, there's like a lot of steps to get my first Bitcoin. So I finally find the Silk Road, and I have to create an account. I'm an idiot. I made the account Joby Weeks. So I then find some shady dude that sells Bitcoin, but he has like 100+ stars. You know, like on eBay, you can star out this guy who's a trusted dealer of Bitcoin. So I bought some Bitcoin. And 250 Bitcoin I got for $200. And then I didn't think about it. And about a year later, I'm watching this thing, and all of a sudden I see a video on Bitcoin. Because I was more into gold and silver. You remember those days back, the Ron Paul days. And I log in, and my $200 of Bitcoin is 50 grand. And now, today, 250 Bitcoin's over $1 million. So it's been an amazing ride. I mean, I haven't even traded anything, and it just keeps going up. And I think to myself, man, if I just, like, I have a friend that trades big time, like every day, he's sitting there like day trading it, and I'm like, dude, you could probably have made more money, just not done anything, and just gone on vacation for 6 months, come back, and you know, rather than sit there trading. So for me, you know, I'm more of a miner of Bitcoin. Whereas our friends here are actively doing trades. So you'll probably learn a lot more from our friends here. So go ahead, and how did you get involved in Bitcoin? When did you get your first Bitcoin on?
So my name is Parsons. I bought my first Bitcoin about a year ago. I don't even know if I bought a whole one.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about it for years, and just finally pulled the trigger about a year ago. And the guy I bought it from texted me a week later and said, hey, do you want to learn how to make a living selling Bitcoin? Just pay me, you know, I think he was charging like 14 Bitcoin at the time for his coaching services. And so my business partner and I, we jumped in, we got coached in how to trade Bitcoin, and we've been living off it full time for the past year. So
great.
We support both of our families, plus we hired an employee that works for us, and we'll probably hire another one soon. So do a quick introduction and add to it. And when did you buy your first Bitcoin?
Well, my name's Eli Dickison, and I bought my first Bitcoin not long after Jesse did.
Yeah.
And I think it's just pretty wild that we're sitting here today at a conference, you know, as supposed experts on trading Bitcoin, and you know, we got into this a year ago, and it's just been amazing. You know, I've been an entrepreneur for years. And this has by far been our best business venture, my best business venture. And you know, I'm still working in my garage. I mean, I have 5 kids, and I live in a small house, and I've like found the corner where I can get away from the kids. But you know, I'll be on the phone with a customer, and my wife comes and turns on the dryer, or, you know, like that's. So I mean, our business is doing quite well, but I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, we're just 2 entrepreneurs that saw an opportunity and jumped on it, and it just kind of blew up on us, and it's a great place to be. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I'm Clifford from Minneapolis, and I'm the guy you were talking about that's on his phone all day trading. So I'm a professional trader, and I'm the fund manager of a company called DCI Capital Advisors. So the DCI is digital currency investments. So we basically invest in Bitcoin and other digital currencies, and the business has been up and running for about a year. We just actively started trading this year. It took about a year to go through just the compliance side of it and make sure we're doing everything the right way. And aside from the company, I got into Bitcoin right at about the end of 2012, 2013, and at the time I was working as a financial advisor. So I was really into finance, and I was really into trading stocks. My dad was a stock broker for 40 years, so I grew up learning about trading stocks, and he got me into stocks at a young age. So I really took the same principles of stock trading and applied it to cryptocurrencies, and found it to work very well, and have really not changed much in the last 5 years. So we basically follow the markets all day, every day, and that's what I do for a living, so which I enjoy very much. And when I first got into Bitcoin, gosh, 5-6 years ago now, I really was really drawn by the tech behind it. I just really felt, the tech side really drew me into it. But then the volatility on the trading side is a whole nother story. And I just, as somebody that grew up, enjoying, I really look at it as glorified gambling, really, speculative trading in the markets. But as somebody that grew up enjoying gambling, playing poker, playing blackjack, I really enjoy the volatility and kind of the risk management that comes into trading for a living. So, yeah.
And what's your favorite platform to trade on? Do you do Kraken or Polonix or Bitfinex or Bittrex? Polonix? Polonix?
Well,
Thanks.
I actually, if I'm dealing with Bitcoin to cash, I actually call these guys now,
Okay.
as brokers to actually do transactions from Bitcoin to cash. But as far as trading alternate coins, I was on Polonix or Polo, I don't even know how you really supposed to
According to him, it's Polonix.
Polonix.
That is, or people call it Polo for sure.
I just call it Polo for short, but I was on there for quite a while. Obviously they had some issues this summer that got me very nervous about putting large sums of money on their site. Now I'm using Bittrex, which is, I guess, I follow the volume. I'm not a big fan of Bittrex's website or the UI, but I just have to kind of deal with it because right now they have the volume. Polonex used to have the volume, MintPal, Cripsy, BTC-E, kind of going back in the day, so it just depends on really where the volatility is right now or where the volume is. Binance is kind of up and coming right now.
None of those are Chinese, are they?
No, they're all US based.
Okay.
Yeah, I
It's hard to find
prefer,
out where they're
BTC was like
located.
out of Bulgaria or something.
I used to be on BTC-E for quite a while, but that was in 2012, 2013, and I had small sums of money on the exchange back then.
What big ones might be Chinese regulated,
Well, like Binance, I think is actually Korean based, but the owner of it is the same owner of BTCC, the largest Chinese exchange that was just recently in the news about shutting down. So the same guy that owns Binance, but I typically stay away from the Chinese trading exchanges mainly because of just the registration process. When you trade with large sums of money, you need to have all the verification steps. I personally just like working with US-based companies because we're a US-based company as well. I don't know how much more protection that really brings or from a compliance point of view, but I personally just try to stay on US-based exchanges for the most part. And part of it is just the verification process. We deal with large sums of money, they have all of our information, they need to do all their AML, KYC, speaking of compliance side stuff on us and the company and my business partners, and so we're giving them pretty sensitive information, and I just feel I have more peace of mind knowing that it's with a company in the US that's regulated by FinCEN. Not that things couldn't still happen with that information.
Have you guys ever been hacked before?
I have.
You got hacked?
Yeah, my phone got duplicated. They called my phone company,
Yep, that's a
and they
common.
transferred over the SIM card,
Yep.
changed my personal email, put a new phone number on there, and the only exchange that I've probably taken for like $250,000, but the only exchange I had, most of it was on Bittrex, I had a couple $100,000 on. Somehow Bittrex still had my money. It took me a month later to get it,
Yeah,
Great.
but I thought it was all gone. Cause I didn't hear from them for like 2 weeks. All of a sudden, they're like, "What email do you want us to put it to?" Like, wow. So
So now to protect yourself, you're using Google
I-
Authenticator?
what I do now is I use multiple telephones.
it doesn't
I
help
no
you.
longer use the iPhone because of the cloud. I only use the Samsung because the notes are stored on the Samsung phone. Never use the same password for different exchanges. Never use the same email for different exchanges. And I'm glad it happened to me before my coin company came out, because before it happens, you don't realize this could happen to you.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh, it's just stories, people say, you know, an article you read, 1 in a billion, but it's actually a real thing. And I'm a target because I run a Bitcoin day traders group on Facebook. And so yeah, I'm actually a target, it should be expected. So I'm glad that I found out, you know, before I have serious money in a wallet that I'm controlling for my company, and I'm putting serious, you know, protocols and now, you know, digital smart contracts in place for it. But it is a real thing.
I had my phone number stolen too.
It's a scary thing.
Cause you're like, I can't tell anybody to do anything, I can't get into my email, my Facebook, my
There's
Gmail, I
nothing
can't
you
make
can
phone
do.
calls, I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
one of
stuck.
the things like, one of the reasons I like Poloniex or Polo so much is they have really good security protocol. So for them, we have whitelisted addresses
addresses
for
and stuff.
coins that can only go out to those coins, and they need to have a video approval, me on actual video. They know what I look like. I have to actually confirm transactions. My account can get hacked. Nobody's gonna be able to. The only thing that they'd be able to do with the money is filter it into thinner traded coins, make a profit off it, which some hackers do too. Like you have a balance on your account, they don't even care about withdrawing the money. They'll just move it over into a thinly traded coin where they have really high buy orders on it and basically just move the money out through that way. But I've always been, you know, I was trading out Mt. Gox when they got hacked, but there was smoke before the fire. It's like where there's smoke, there's fire. There were warning signs well before they actually got hacked. I pulled all my money off. I traded on Cryptsy. There were warning signs, I got my money off. I traded on MintPal, there were warning signs, I got my money off. I still trade on Polo, but very minimal now, and in my opinion, there's warning signs right now. And so, it's kind of, you know, you have to just pay attention.
What are the warning signs? What kind of warning signs?
Well, yeah, so.
Let's go. The founders are in Brazil, partner.
And I'm sure they're gonna love, I'm sure they're gonna love we're talking about this right now, and this is gonna do great for their business. Couple warning signs were one, they got rid of the troll box, back in the summer. Troll box was basically like the chat that was supported to the Poloniex site. The reason they justified pulling that is because they needed to shift customer support to deal with the growing amount of accounts that were being added every day, but if you kind of look at that story, it was really a poor alibi, because the amount of volume that they lost the very first day from not having the troll box on the website it was over $1 million in lost fees that they would have made as a business. To shift over the supposedly like 12 mods that they had overseeing the troll box to help with customer support. So it's like you're really gonna tell them to sacrifice millions of dollars in profits because you don't wanna just hire more people to deal with this potential issue you have. What the reality is, the troll box became a public forum for people to complain about the website, because the website was having big issues getting people their money and dealing with deposits and withdrawals. So that's a huge smoking flag right there, that there's all of a sudden a slowdown in the ability to get your money on and off the website. That's often a very first sign that something happened. But if you go back even before that, which was in the summertime, there was an issue one day, it was peak volume, day Ripple, alternate coin, went absolutely parabolic, everybody was margined up. Like you could lend out your Bitcoin at just an absurd rate for margins, because basically everybody was just going crazy on the volatility, and then the website crashed. And during the crash, nobody could access their funds, but one of the largest investors was apparently able to liquidate their whole position while everybody else was frozen out from the website. It caused a huge margin call on investors, and people that had stop loss orders in place, they weren't activated. And so people just got wiped out completely. And that happened before they started having withdrawal issues. And so there was some serious shadiness going on with insider trading, where one of these large accounts was able to have access to the trading platform while everybody else was frozen out. And you know, there was some sort of DDoS attack going on that day. So that was a huge, huge issue. And I wasn't affected by that at all. I wasn't on margin, I wasn't trading Ripple. But I saw that event happen, and then what transpired over the next few weeks, and then in addition to that, the issues they started having with withdrawals. And to me, it's like, that's too much going on. I'm not gonna speculate what all that means, even though I have my own ideas of what all that means. I'm not gonna throw it out there right now, because it's just speculation, but I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that thought.
I do have a question though. Joby mentioned if you would have just held over the last year,
Sure.
would you have made more money?
Well, it depends how you define
Instead of
holding.
trading.
I have this
Holding
conversation, so I have this conversation with people all the time. It's one of my favorite conversations to have, which is, as an active trader, or as anybody, I mean, how many people here actually actively trade versus just buy and hold? So, like, maybe half the audience raised their hands. So, as active traders, how do you measure success? It's a conversation I have with people all the time. And the question is, do you measure success in USD or in Bitcoin? So if you started the year off with 100 Bitcoin, for example, and let's say that, you know, Bitcoin was priced at $800, so, you know, what's the matter, like 80K? Say today you were actively trading, you know, whether it was very active or just passively active, say you turned that 100 Bitcoin into 50 Bitcoin. You basically, you know, you made some bad trades, maybe as far as you moved into an alternate coin at a top and then it went down. So you turned 100 into 50, but those 50 Bitcoin are all worth, let's just say $4,000 a coin now today. So you started with 80,000, but now you're at 200,000. You started with 100 Bitcoin, but now you're at 50 Bitcoin. So do you consider that successful trading or not?
It's technically a loss. You're only winning in trading when you're winning against the market overall.
But some people would be very happy to have turned, some people look at it as turning 80,000 into 200.
The question is, what
True.
do you consider dominant? Is it Bitcoin or is it USD?
And there's not a right answer.
Right, but
It's a preference, but I would argue the right answer is Bitcoin.
because that's what we're in it for.
That's what we're in it for. And I always tell people, you should be, everybody out there should be always working on acquiring more Bitcoin. And there's only 3 ways you can do that. You can buy more Bitcoin, you can mine Bitcoin, or you can try to actively trade Bitcoin and alternate coins. It's the only 3 ways you can get more Bitcoin, and you should always be doing one of those 3 things. You can accept it for payment. You can accept, yeah, that's
Sell
true
something
too.
for Bitcoin. That's like
That's
buying
true too,
Bitcoin.
accept it for payment. I'm looking at it more from an investment point of view, but absolutely, absolutely.
So if you hold, you still have your same 50 Bitcoin.
Yes.
But if you trade, you could trade it up to
So,
100 Bitcoin.
To answer the question,
Right.
I look at it, I measure success overall in Bitcoin.
Right.
And yes, we have absolutely turned the amount of Bitcoin, if we had just bought and held Bitcoin, obviously we would be doing well. We continuously have more Bitcoin.
Right.
On top of the fact Bitcoin's price appreciates. But I measure our success, I always ask myself, what value do I bring our fund? And I measure my value in how much more Bitcoin we have because I'm actively trading our money.
Makes sense.
So that's how I look at it.
And then if you lose, then you just go to your people and say, well, you invested in dollars in, you're getting more dollars out. And that's a good way to look at it, right?
Well, Joe can attest back that he's one of our business partners in the fund, and there was a point
It's
this
called the
year
no-lose fund.
where we had made some we were on a bad streak, and we actually had less Bitcoin at one point this year than kind of where we had started with, but our dollar amount was very much higher. And I was so depressed. I felt like I was losing at that point, so I was like, I really have, I would have been better off not doing anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always measure it in Bitcoin. I always think you need to be
Yeah, me
trying
too.
to accumulate more Bitcoin, put the dollar value aside, because my mindset is Bitcoin is, you look ahead long term, 5, 10, 25 years from now, I have all the confidence the value of Bitcoin is going to be higher. So right now, our goal is always to try to accumulate more Bitcoin.
Right. I had that conversation with Eli about 6 months ago because I realized if we had just taken our initial capital investment and held it, we would have had more of a profit than we did just, you know, over-the-counter trading it over those 6 months.
Yeah.
But what we bought for ourselves was the education. So if we would have just held it, we'd have no other skills than we do, you know, than we did before. But now that we've actually traded for a year, you know, we basically, we can make a living with it, you know. So we've kind of smoothed out all the bumps in the road, and we're able to turn it into a valid business, so.
Well, we kind of look at the same thing with mining too. It's what's smarter, buying Bitcoin and holding it, or investing in mining hardware and you know, making Bitcoin every day.
Right.
And so I get the question all the time
Yeah.
too. And what I basically say is, you guys remember the story when we were younger about the goose that lays the golden egg? You know, so Bitcoins are the golden eggs, right? And some people want to buy the golden eggs. Next week they buy more eggs, and a month later they're still having to go buy eggs. Or you could buy the goose that just generates you an endless supply of the golden eggs. So that's kind of how I explain the difference. And I always just say, if you bought an ounce of gold, if people are into gold and silver here, or you bought a Bitcoin, you buy a Bitcoin and you throw it in a vault next to your ounce of gold. You come back 10 years later, how much Bitcoin do you have? You only have one Bitcoin. You have an ounce of gold, it's collecting dust, it's just sitting there. Or you can buy it in mining hardware or trade it, right? get into a bot program that might trade the arbitrage, who knows? You can day trade it, you can hold long, however you do it. But come back 10 years later after, let's say you bought some mining, equipment, and now you got, 5, 10, maybe 15 Bitcoin. So the idea is buying an asset that generates cash flow to create residual income, and the idea is once your residual income is higher than your expenses, you're free.
That's right. Exited the rat race.
That's the Robert Kiyosaki way. Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you guys haven't read that one, I highly encourage you all to read it.
Cash flow.
I saw him at the Red Pill Expo, and I was like, Robert, man, you get everything so well, but you just haven't figured out the blockchain yet. I mean, how long is it going to take for you to figure it out? I mean, what's your incentive for being completely clueless about this technology? Because you're gonna figure it out in maybe a year, 5 years, 10 years. Why don't you figure it out now? Because he has no idea about Bitcoin and the blockchain yet. Neither did I. None of us did. I mean, when this was coming out, it wasn't like there was like events and CDs that taught you what backed Bitcoin. All I heard was you could buy drugs with it on the internet. So every time I see Lynn, Ross's mom, I always say, thank you. All these people are here because of your son, because he was the one that started us all on this Bitcoin path with the Silk Road. And we owe a lot to that. We should all be donating to the campaign to get a retrial, get him out of jail. So I'm eternally grateful for her and him, and so that's the whole thing. It's like we watch all of our friends. The pioneers, they get the arrows shot at them, and then the settlers come afterwards and settle, and it's all easy, not remembering that the pioneers had to come and get thrown in jail and get all these things that you have to figure out along the way as you kind of teach yourself. I mean, I never knew about the blockchain, so I had no idea what made Bitcoin valuable, and now going to all these blockchain summits, they're spending billions of dollars to develop all these platforms to plug in the API into the blockchain. So it really is exciting. It really is going to change the world.
Over the past year, we've Eli would forward me every new news article about somebody getting arrested and put in jail for trading Bitcoin. He'd be like, "This could be us. What are we doing?" I'd be like, that doesn't happen to normal people.
Yeah,
like
Charlie Shrimp.
So we were working on our compliance over the past year. Yeah, definitely go for it.
So in terms of liquidating into fiat, how often do you guys actually do that from your own personal experience? And in order to create it as a passive form of income, you have to be able to do that from time to time, right? So in terms of bookkeeping, how often you actually do that, when's a good time to actually exit into fiat? What are you guys' ideas on that?
Well, our answer is simple. I mean, we're daily in and out of Bitcoin fiat. So because we're in the business of selling Bitcoin, we're buying it.
So you're over the counter, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
okay. But in terms of exchanges, I guess maybe you could speak more on that.
Yeah, well, over the last 5 years, it's, we've been, the business itself has only been open for 1 year, but my own personal assets have gone back 5 years, and I've gone as far as being 100% cash for long periods of times when I don't feel that the market is in a bull run. I mean, specifically looking at 2014 into 15, I was in cash for quite a while, but for the last 9 months to 12 months, we've been as high as 30% cash, as well as about 5% cash. It really depends. You ask when do you make those decisions?
Yeah, because you were talking about the smoke.
When do you want to buy the Lamborghini? That's the question.
Well, even without.
Right.
Well, I have to so I live off of Bitcoin. I mean, I don't have any income. I don't have a job. I mean, my job is the fund, and I live off my own Bitcoin stash, which I take targeted times when to liquidate it. And sometimes I'm right, and sometimes I'm wrong. I mean, there's a investment strategy called dollar cost averaging. For people that are aware of that, you can dollar cost average into a market. You can dollar cost average out of the market. It takes some of the luck of timing out of the equation when you average it out over longer periods of time. So basically, I look at it as just for my own personal sake, I need to have X amount of dollars every month to pay bills, so I have to liquidate X amount of dollars every month. And sometimes when I think the market is at a really overbought point in time, I might liquidate somewhere between 3 to 4 months worth of my expenses, so I kind of know I have 4 months of cash in the bank. So if we kind of, if I caught it correctly and then the market sits for the next month or two, I got out at a good time. Doesn't always work to my advantage, but
In terms of that signal though, what do you mean overbought? What do you
Well, I
mean?
use technical analysis, so I do trade on, that's a whole nother conversation. I love the conversation about, some people think technical analysis is like fortune telling with tarot cards, and it's just kind of a little bit of BS. Not to say that that industry is BS, but a lot of people question the validity of technical analysis and how well it really works, and that's what I was taught learning how to trade stocks on. So I have my own indicators that I use. I mean, for example, like, simple one is Bollinger Bands, and just use, there's indicators within that you can set, but basically a Bollinger Band is a momentum indicator, and it can often give you an indication that markets are overbought or oversold. So I kind of look for periods, if the price of Bitcoin or the price of an alternate coin breaks the top Bollinger Band on high volume, that can often be an indicator that it's time to exit out, at least in the short term. But my mindset has been, we're in a very strong bull run right now in cryptocurrencies in general. And so there's always peaks and valleys within a continuous uptrend, because I think the real trend, like the underlying trend right now is bullish. I really don't encourage people to be too heavy into cash. So like, we'll max out right now at about 30% cash. That's like, for me, 70% crypto, 30% cash, pretty high, because I think the price is gonna continue to keep going up and up. So.
And easy ways to cash out too are just only do business with people that accept Bitcoin. There's a great app called coins.ph. I was just out in the Philippines. It's probably the greatest exchange in the world, I would think. I mean, you can go right on this app, coins.ph, and you can pay your water bill, your electric bill, your power bill, your phone bill. People will come to your house and give you cash for Bitcoin. I mean, literally, you never have to use fiat money there, and that will eventually be everywhere else. And I try to just do business with people that do business with me.
Right.
You don't take Bitcoin, I don't donate money to your charity. Like the other day, our mine hit the biggest block in Bitcoin history. We got something like 291 Bitcoin in a block. Normally it's 12.5 Bitcoin. Actually, at the time, it was 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So this is before the halving. And some poor guy sent $200,000 or whatever it was, and in fees. He sent $5 and put on a $290,000 miner fee instead of the other way around, where he was supposed to send $290,000 and tag on a $5 miner fee. But I've been drinking before too, and my stomach would have hit the floor if I would have done that. So I felt really bad for this guy. I don't know who it was, so we put it out like, hey, we've made mistakes like this before. If you made the mistake and you tagged on a $300,000 miner fee, we'll give it back to you. And so for a month we were asking whose transaction was this, and nobody claimed it. Nobody claimed it. So I just decided, well, I'm going to be Santa Claus. I'm just going to give $5,000 to you, to you, to you, to you, to you. So, coin center and block, Well, Luke got some. Weird change got a little. We got Freedom's Phoenix. We had Pork Fest got some. We had the Digital Chamber of Commerce and a lot of charities. But I would call up these charities. I'm like, look, I like you guys. You're doing great stuff. Choice Humanitarian is one that teaches people how to become entrepreneurs in third world countries, and then they set them up with their businesses, and then they buy whatever that business produces from Peru or wherever. And so teaching people capitalism, right? And so I really like that, and I was like, but I'm not going to donate you guys any kind of money until you set up your Bitcoin wallet, and I'll send you some Bitcoin. And so a lot of these charities were too freaking lazy to take the 30 seconds it takes to set up a wallet.
Yeah.
And so they didn't get any money. The ones that were like, all right, we'll figure out this Bitcoin thing, boom, they got, at the time, $5,000 in Bitcoin, which is now $50,000 in Bitcoin, and that's what I try to only do, is do business with people that do business with me, and go and shop at BitPremier or on Purse instead of regular Amazon, etc.
Yeah.
Got a Zoppo card, you can just drag and drop your Bitcoin onto Zoppo and go spend it anywhere Visa's accepted, so.
Yeah, so you were saying that you feel so certain that Bitcoin is going to continue to rise in price, that you only have 30% or less in fiat at the moment. What are your thoughts on the Chinese regulation and the fear and FUD over that at the moment? Right now we're at a point where Bitcoin's just risen from $800 in January, topped out at $5K during the last month. A whole year ago, it was at $400 even.
Right.
That was, it's been an incredible ride, but who's to say it's going to keep going up over the next few months or years? It could easily go back down to $800 before it starts another uptrend.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
as traders, we have to take that into account, but we can't possibly know what the future holds. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're absolutely right, can't account for what the future holds, so there's no guarantee in that. And I actually try to emphasize this to other traders that have just joined the market this year. You have to understand there's a lot of people that put a lot of money into Bitcoin when it was at like $400 or $500, and they could liquidate all the way down to $1,000 and still be doing really well with large sums of money. So people have to be really knowledgeable about the past, even if they just got into the market this year, because a lot of people got into the market from like March to July, and they were buying Bitcoin at like 2,000, 25, 3,000, 35, and for them, you know, when Bitcoin went from like 5,000 to like 3,500, they feel like that's cheap Bitcoin now, and it's like, well, you gotta realize, like, to me, that's still unbelievably expensive Bitcoin. So that's part of the downward side pressure. I don't think the Chinese, personally, this is a news-driven market because it's a speculative market. You can't put underlying fundamental analysis behind it because it just doesn't work that way like you do. You know, I still, to this day, even though I don't trade stocks professionally anymore, I still listen to valuation guys in the stock market because that's the kind of content that I enjoy listening to, and I'm a big valuation guy. You can't value, I mean, you sort of can, but there's no reason why Bitcoin is priced at what it is today versus half of it or double it. I mean, there really aren't good fundamentals behind that. So, no, I mean, for us, it's all about risk taking and managing risk, and there's obviously downside potential. I mean, I'll flip the trigger very quickly if fundamentals say so. I mean, there's been days where it's like, I go long Bitcoin, I'm short Bitcoin later in the day, and then I'm long Bitcoin again before the day's over. So I mean, we actively trade quite a bit based on that. So, you know, even though I said right now, I probably won't go more than 30% cash right now. I just won't. If it goes lower, I'll buy more Bitcoin.
So you're mainly swing trading it, so even if the market does take a downturn, you can still make profits shorting.
Yeah.
Do you have long-term holdings? I know some of our friends over here do have long-term holdings, and some are only long-term holdings. But what about yourself? How do you diversify your fund?
I'm not married to anything, so no. I mean, I've been invested in Litecoin since probably 2013 on different levels. I like that project a lot, but there's been days where I have zero of it because I think my money's just better parked in a different coin, just based on what volatility is going on. So, no, I don't have any I mean, we have holdings that we've been holding for a long time, but I will certainly switch it to something else if I think there's a better place for my money to be.
Is Bitcoin kind of where everybody seems to be parking when they make their capital gains on their pump and dumps, and then they jump back into Bitcoin? Have you seen that Bitcoin's leveling off a little bit more now that there's more altcoins that
Well, it's interesting.
against it?
You know, people have been in these markets for a couple of years have seen a big switch this year, which is alternate coins now are moving in correlation to Bitcoin, whereas 2016 and past, they had a negative correlation. So on days when Bitcoin was going up a lot, most alternate coins were going down, and vice versa. Now they're in similar correlation. So like today, Bitcoin's down like 9–10% since the day started. A lot of alternate coins are down like 15–20% relative to fiat because they're down more than Bitcoin even is. And that trend is a direct result of Bitcoin is the medium for fiat to alternate coins right now.
Right.
And this year has been like the year of alternate coins. I mean, obviously Bitcoin's had really good price appreciation. Alternate coin market has had an even greater price appreciation. And people need to still use Bitcoin as that medium. If I got $100K in cash or $10,000, whatever amount of cash you have, if you want to go buy Ripple with it or Litecoin, I mean now Litecoin you can go into cash, but most people are still buying Bitcoin and they're converting it. And when they're getting out of alternate coins, they're converting it back into Bitcoin. And some of them take that next step and convert it back to fiat, and some people do just park it. Like some people trade where they're like, I'll never go to bed in alternate coins. I cash out and go into, you know, when I go to bed in Bitcoin. You guys are probably like, when you go to bed in cash. You know? And so, and when I go to bed, I usually go to bed in alternate coins, because then every morning it's like Christmas, and you wake up and see if you still have a job or not.
And all this stresses me out so much that I just like to mine because it doesn't matter if the coin is up or down. I get paid every day, it doesn't matter. I just get my Bitcoin.
Same question, you know, about the whole Chinese deal. The exchange goes down. Is that really super beneficial for the non-Chinese miners?
Well, I mean, the miners in China haven't had any issues. It's been the exchanges and the ICOs. The second they go after the miners, it's gonna make a huge difference because they account for, 60% of the hashing power globally. And so for people like us, it'd be like Christmas, cause the difficulty goes down and we would capture more, but at the same time, I hate to see government killing our competition rather than the free market allowing us to create a better product or service to kill our competition. I'm an Austrian economist, right? I'm into competition. Competition, quality goes up, prices come down. I don't like to see government step in and make the playing field level, even if it would benefit us, and it probably will if this happens, but it wouldn't make me very happy.
What is, oh, sorry.
I just had a quick question. So for those of us that don't know how to recharge in Bollinger Bands, how would you recommend going about that?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. People that want to get into trading and are like, where do I start? I often recommend people learn. There's a lot of good content already out there for technical analysis trading that is for traditional markets, whether you're looking at like Forex, like traditional fiat, or stock trading. The same fundamentals apply perfectly to crypto. People don't think they do. Like crypto is totally different. You can't use stock trading analysis and apply it. You certainly can. One thing that I started this year is I have a YouTube channel where every Thursday, I just did it actually before we hopped on here because I do it every Thursday at 1:15 on the East Coast. I do about an hour-long video that just walks through current market analysis and then does some general technical analysis teachings. And because I just found a lot of people were asking me how to learn this stuff, and I love opening up that door to people and saying, here's how you do it. So I started my own YouTube channel.
What's the channel?
You can just search, so my name's Brooks Clifford. You can just search for me, Brooks Clifford. I try to be very transparent. I mean, I'm not gonna speak for you guys, but I'm a big advocate of being very transparent in the cryptocurrency space. Like my usernames are just my name. Everybody on every forum that I'm on literally knows who I am as a real person. I think there's some value to that where if you actually, people know who you are online, you're a little bit more cognitive of what you're saying and what you're doing because you actually, even though if you're anonymous, it's still being tracked. When you're public, you're much more conscious of that thought of, what you're putting out there. So if you just Google Brooks Clifford on YouTube, you'll come across my channel. And for people that want to get into trading, the other thing I have is just like a private Slack group, which I invite to anybody that wants to learn about trading. And we just talk about general technical analysis stuff. So happy to invite anybody to that. These guys are.
Yeah, we've watched his videos before and we're on his Slack group, so yeah, great advice.
Everything I know about technical analysis has been learned from Brooks' YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
So I will learn how to recharge and stuff if I just follow that.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside to my content is I'm very unorganized. I'm an unorganized individual. So I'm all over the place, and what I keep saying would make really good content is if I had like video 1 labeled this, video 2 labeled that, so you could go through step by step, which I haven't done yet and I want to. Because you jump on any week, I'm going to talk about whatever's on my mind that week. So there's not a lot of organization to it, but the feedback that I've gotten from people that do watch the videos is I get a lot of good feedback saying that they really enjoy the content and they feel like they learn some good stuff about technical analysis trading. So I was like, as long as the feedback remains positive, I'm going to keep doing it. So.
And I was just going to say, there's now enough people watching it live that there's some good side chatter going. While
yeah, we do it all on YouTube Live, so it's like live,
yeah, it gets lots of people
live
really
stuff. You can kind of talk and throw questions in there while we're going. So, yeah.
So getting back to the issue of security and securing your accounts, we started talking a little bit about that, and then we go on to another topic. What's your strategy to make sure no one hacks into your account?
Well, he has a better strategy than all of us probably. What I do is I disconnected my phone number to all my accounts because that's the point of weakness is the telcos. The hackers can't hack you, so they'll hack the telco and steal your number. And because Facebook makes you set up your Facebook account with the phone number, Gmail makes you set up your Gmail account with a phone number, and even Authy makes you set up Authy with a phone number. If they capture the number, they capture your accounts and they can break in and steal your money.
So get multiple phones.
And so multiple phones, or Google has a phone number, the Google Google Voice has a number that can't be ported, right?
Yeah, Google Fi too.
And Google Fi is another one, yeah. You know, don't get on the internet and be targets in the first place. You know, and I use Google Authenticator, so I've disconnected my phone numbers from everything. I'm using Google Authenticator. I got a separate laptop to do my things with. A laptop I search the internet, would do the internet with. You know, I do everything with Trezors and Ledgers, and I'm crossing my fingers. Really, it's scary. These guys are getting better and better. I got a hacker that literally stalks me.
And store it offline.
Store it on paper wallets. If you got a bundle of Bitcoin, you know, don't leave anything on exchanges because the exchanges are the honeypots. So that's what the hackers target, are the exchanges. So
multi-signature wallets.
Yeah, that too. I mean, it depends on how much time. Like I'm kind of ADD, and like so I like to. I don't want it to take me a half hour to log into my account, you know. So I do the Google Authenticator and all that stuff, but like some of these guys
Google
have.
Authenticator, don't you have to use your phone number?
No, just Authy you have to use your phone number, but Google Authenticator you don't have to use a phone number to download that app. Right on your phone.
Yeah, you just have to have it on.
It's tied to your phone.
Yeah, it's tied to
Well,
your
it's
device.
an app on your phone.
Yes.
Right.
So it's
That
like
can
a
run.
service. You
Yeah,
can
it
be
can
a
just
dead phone.
Yes.
Yeah,
Put
it's a
it on
phone.
an old dead phone.
I have it on a phone that doesn't even have a SIM chip in it. It never
Exactly.
gets on the
That's
internet.
the idea.
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of protocol for safety. I think there's no question to balance a spectrum of convenience and security when it comes to just getting your funds offline, online trading. Most people lean towards the convenience side, which is the vulnerability there. So you talk to, you know, over here, and it's so inconvenient for me to move funds around. But you know, that's the way it is because of the security side of it. So.
No, you're using other people's money too.
Exactly.
So like the big trading houses, like my buddies over at ANX, like they can't move any money unless Ken says okay, Dave says okay, Fernando says okay, Ryan says okay, then the money moves, right? So, you know,
Yeah.
you can set it up that
I
way.
think some easy protocol was already said. Use different email addresses that aren't tied to your real day-to-day use. Different phone number, different computer is like a next level up. I mean, it really depends on how much money you're trading with. It doesn't make sense if you have $500 in cryptocurrencies to go buy a new phone and a new computer. But if you have over like $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, you know, it starts to question, you know, spend 1.5% on hardware to keep your stuff stored. And I always recommend keeping money on exchanges for as little time as possible. So that is difficult if you're putting in, as a trader, doing like limit orders, where you wanna have a sell limit or a buy limit, so then the orders are just sitting there. You're putting yourself at vulnerability, keeping your money on exchanges. So
Well, and plus some exchanges have coins on there that don't actually have wallets. So for instance, I had Shadow Cash,
Yep.
and one day Bittrex calls me up and says, we're not supporting Shadow Cash anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have a Shadow Cash wallet, what do I do with my Shadow Cash? And sorry, it's gone. And I remember that South Park, you wanna put it in, and it's gone. That's exactly how I felt. I bought some, and it's gone. So, you know, remember when you're buying coins, and if the coin doesn't have any users and there's no wallets to pull off the exchange onto where you control your own key on your own wallet or whatever this altcoin is, you're in a speculative pump and dump right now. And you probably shouldn't, I mean, right? I mean, if you can't pull it off and you can't spend it anywhere and the coin's $100 a coin, you're an idiot because it has no use. Like, you know, so that's basically how it is, in my mind. Now, some people can make it on the way up or whatever, but for me, it's like, I wanna be able to pull a coin off, be able to use it, hold the keys, keep it in my wallet, or put it on a Trezor. And they have these new ledgers now that you can have, my ledger has like 7 different coins on one ledger. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I thought you were limited to like holding 3 at a time or something.
No.
Ledger's what I heard.
Well, I got a ledger that's Zcash, Ethereum, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Question?
And maybe a few of you could chime in on this too. In terms of taking gains as an individual trader, would you recommend setting up some sort of corporation or something like that to take like any gains through? And on top of that, is there any tools you would suggest for like an individual trader to use for tracking in the event some sort of audit were to happen?
Good questions.
Yeah. We just use an Excel spreadsheet and it's pretty antiquated, I think, so.
So you mark down every trade you make?
We do, we track every single trade on an Excel spreadsheet, yeah.
And the exchanges, you should download all of that from the exchanges as well, the whole history.
You can. I wish I knew the name of this website, because I just started using its service, but you can download all your trades off the exchange and do an Excel format, and then you can upload the Excel format to this website, and they do a really good job of showing you long-term, short-term capital gains and losses for all your trades, and they can quantify it based on coins and based on trade per day. I actually use an Excel sheet too, which is like very elementary. But, and no, I don't record every trade that I place on the Excel sheet, but all our trade history is on Polonex. I mean, I was talking to my CPAs just recently as we're kind of getting ready to do some tax stuff. I was like, I think I've done, I look back, I was like, I probably placed 75,000 trades this year. So somebody needs to go through all that and mark down short-term profits, losses. I'm like, that's, pay somebody to do that for me.
One of the cool things about this citizenship and by investment
It's
thing
self-governed.
is for $500,000, you can go down to St. Kitts and buy yourself a house, right in paradise, nice beaches and everything, and they'll give you instant citizenship and a passport. You get a visa-free travel to 140 countries, and then all of a sudden you don't have to keep any of these records. And you have this beautiful house in paradise and a tax haven with a passport. So I mean, you can keep all these files and all the, or you just go to St.
Or
Kitts.
for $100 you can get Estonia online.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they got.
Japan is not a tax haven. There's no income tax in St.
I'll
Kitts.
say this, which is tomorrow.
As long as they're not getting hit by a hurricane.
I don't think you're with us tomorrow, but we're speaking tomorrow, another panel, on talking about taxes specifically.
Right,
and kind of the implications of that, because that's kind of the road we're going down.
So we'll hit that tomorrow. Luke had a comment.
So I think the name of that software might be Bitcoin.tax. And
That sounds familiar. I know that's a service that does it. It's very similar to that, if that's not the one.
you can just upload basically from all of your exchanges, it
convenient.
puts them in order by time, and
Yep.
it will give you a profit and loss for everything. You still probably need a CPA if you have 75,000.
Yeah, I mean, and then, the root of the answer to your question is everybody should be marking down their capital gains and losses somehow, and if you're taking gains, you need to have some sort of record of all this for the potential of being audited. I recommend to anybody that's in Bitcoin, you have a massive target on your back, whether you're trading $100 worth of it, or 100,000 or whatever it is, you're putting a huge target on your back for auditing, whether you have just a normal, W-9 or W-2 employee at a normal company, but just be careful. I mean, people talk all day about ways you can get money from Bitcoin out of Bitcoin into the real world without having to go through that medium of, and the government can notice it. And I just tell everybody, you need to side with caution. I mean, we pay our tax bills, hefty tax bills.
Legitimate business, you should take the responsibilities that go with it.
Yeah, and like the idea of jumping to the Cayman Islands or wherever it is, you get that all the time. Like, people ask me all the time, why are you doing this in the US? And my answer to them is because somebody needs to. If we want this to become more legitimate of a industry, we can't just be a group of people that flee into a cave because we've made a bunch of money and try to avoid paying taxes on it. It's like, no, just pay your taxes like if you had any other legitimate business. And if you're a personal individual trader, pay your taxes like you would if you just bought a bunch of, shares of Amazon and you finally sold them one day to go buy a house. Like, you're not gonna try to evade paying taxes on that. You just made a bunch of money. Pay your dues.
Do you still have to do that if you're buying gas for your car?
Well, there's a law that they're trying to pass, that any transaction under $600, you don't have to track, but anything over $600, you have to track. So there's legislation there.
They're working on it. They're trying to make it easier, because right now the answer is yes.
Right now it's retarded. If you buy a stick of gum, you gotta write it down, it's retarded.
Which is like, for the average person, way too much work. But if you're spending $10 here or $50 there, the chances that you're gonna get in a large amount of trouble for it is obviously far less than if you're putting a multiplier on the amount of numbers you're dealing with, but, yeah, it's just, we'll talk way more about all that stuff tomorrow, but I'm very open about my opinion on all this, which is pay taxes and,
We go to 240.
Pay taxes and die.
just pay, print, you have to write that bill, but just, I mean, like, we're all running legit, like you mentioned, I mean, we're legitimate businesses, and that's but even in my individual accounts, it's the same thing.
So you can put a lot of effort into it, all of that, and you might learn
Still
from
get
your
audited.
mistakes. If you
Yep.
were to put your effort into continuing to do what you do best, then you perhaps would have made more anyways, and still paid the taxes.
Right.
And go into the same question of how overall you did, you might be better off, in the long run.
Yeah, and I know some people, like I know one individual specifically who made, 9 figures in trading. And so for him, he decided to take the steps to flee. And it's like, okay, when you're talking about saving, a $30, $40 million tax bill, that maybe justifies, the idea of,
St. Kitts citizen.
there you go. It looks a lot more
There's
appealing.
lots of countries that will have us.
Yes.
So this is a question for you, Brooks. What sort of things do you look for in an altcoin, fundamentals wise, that makes it attractive for you to become an investor?
Yeah, there is still fundamentals. I said earlier, when you do valuations, there's not the same kind of fundamentals a stock would have, but there are some fundamentals to still look for in a coin. Probably the easiest one is the developers behind the project. So that's an important aspect of knowing what you're investing in, is who are the people behind it. Another thing to look at in a similar mindset is the distribution of the coin. So whatever the coin currently is, getting a grasp and understanding of who the top holders are in the coin and what they're doing with it. A principle from trading stock, obviously in the stock market, the largest holders of the stock, the people on the board, CEOs, CFOs, they have to publicly, place, all their trades are public information. So you can look at a stock, and it's not a direct indicator, like if all the high-level execs are just offing as much their maximum is every single quarter of their position into the stock, it's not necessarily a huge warning flag, but when I was trading stocks, I always liked to buy stocks where the largest investors of the stocks were still acquiring more of the position. Like, that's a good bull indicator. It's not a perfect, golden bullet, silver bullet, but with cryptocurrencies, you can do a similar thing, which is figure out who the top holders of the coins are, and get a sense of like, what are they currently doing? Are they still looking to acquire more of it? Are they just kind of in like, I've loaded up and I'm gonna sit back and kind of get a sense? Or are they liquidating at this point? Like, they've already made enough money, and that can be another fundamental thing. And then obviously, you get into some of the specifics of like the white paper, what the project's aiming to do, the roadmap of the project, how good are they of a team to actually deliver on time to the roadmap. I think for traders, the roadmap and the development is very much like what in the stock world quarterly estimates are. I mean, stocks live and die by quarterly reports, and whether they were on target, they overshot it, or they missed it. That's really what drives stock pricing. In the cryptocurrency space, it is very much following a roadmap. Not all coins are that way, but a lot of coins have this roadmap, and they have projected timelines of when they're gonna hit certain development stages. And if they're ahead of schedule, it does really well for the pricing of the coin, and if they fall behind, it often creates downward pressure. Not always, but so that's kind of some other things to look at, is just, how have they done in the past as far as saying they're gonna deliver on time and then actually delivering on time.
Is there anything you want to see more of out of development teams to make you feel comfortable about investing, or?
No, I like projects, as somebody that's very transparent online and with my company, talking about the tax side, talking about me as a spokesperson, just putting my name out there, I'm not anonymous. I do like projects where development teams are more publicly known, because you do get into some projects where the developers are like an anonymous individual. I think of like JL777, that people are familiar with him as a developer. He's been a part of like NXT and Komodo recently and SuperNet, and he's like a really well-known developer, but nobody knows who he is. That doesn't deter me completely from not knowing who the people are, but I like, as you know, because we've kind of met a few months ago, I like to travel, and I'll actually go meet the developers. It's worth $500 for a plane ticket for me to go fly and shake hands face to face and have a cup of coffee with the person I'm putting my money behind the project into. So I like to go meet the actual developers and just get a sense of who they are. And also looking just at online, like when I'm interested in buying into a coin, I'll jump into whether it's like the Slack chat or the Telegram room or wherever there's like kind of like the social aspect of the coin. I'll jump in there and start just firing off questions, and you get a sense of, are they very welcoming and friendly, or are they just kind of assholes and they're just like, oh my god, somebody else asking more questions. And like that to me is a big thing of it too. So I really kind of test people without really telling them who I am at first and just kind of getting a sense of how do they respond.
Have you bought into any ICOs this year?
I don't do any ICOs.
No Tezos, no EOS?
Never have.
Ethereum, you never did Ethereum?
I did not do Ethereum on ICO.
Cloud.
Man, I got.
Any stats of, when people dump them, and they.
I don't
come
even
on the
follow the
market,
ICO
people
world, to
dump
be
them?
honest with you.
So. Price drops.
Not that I'm, it's not, it's speculation at its, I mean, this space is already heavily speculative.
Of course.
I just don't like doing, there's actually two reasons why I don't like doing ICOs. One, you lose liquidity, you're tying up your money, I don't like to tie up my money, so that's a huge piece of it too. That's probably the biggest reason for ICO, and then the second one is, there's ICOs that I like, and I'll keep my eye on the project, I wait until they're on an exchange,
Yeah,
and then there's liquidity, and I can see what levels of liquidity there are before I put my money in, because how do you even know how much money to put into a project before you even know how much liquidity there's gonna be to get your money out?
So what are some projects have you bought any IOTA coins or Strat coins or anything like this?
I was in IOTA for a brief moment. Most of the projects that I'm in right now are, I'd call older coins, like the Litecoins of the world. I'm very big right now, this is like public information too. If anybody that follows my videos, like somebody back there that Finn was talking about, I'm very right now heavy in the Lightning Network Atomic Swap grouping of coins. So that's like your Bitcoin, Litecoin, Vertcoin, Viacoin, Syscoin, SYS coin, there's a couple others, but I'm very big into that like I fundamentally believe in that technology right now. So I put my money behind the coins that are working on that development stage.
On the Lightning
right now.
Network.
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
I think that's gonna be a big deal.
Okay.
Because, well, not enough time to even get into that whole
Yeah.
conversation.
Nexus.
So,
Well, thank you.
I said, actually, you know what, I've been trying to, leading up to this conference,
Sorry.
I talked about Nexus a week or two ago, because obviously getting invited to this conference, it wasn't on my radar previous to this, so then I started looking at it, and I've basically just been looking for a buy, I was like, it's a cool project, I don't mind putting some money behind it, especially since they're supporting me, having me come out here. I've had buy orders on Nexus for like 2.5 months that cannot get filled. And I keep like raising them up as the price has gone up, and I'm just like, well, I should have just market bought, you know.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
Because it's gone up 4 times.
But yes, any of these projects that are kind of going down that path right now, and I think it's gonna be the status quo for altcoins sooner than later. But the ones that are really making it a forefront for their focus point right now, to me is a good place to park my money.
well, Joby's got another one tomorrow, and so do we, so feel free to
Which
come
one?
and chat with us
Thanks,
again,
Hammond.
so, yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
for
what
Mine's the
coming.
one at 3 o'clock tomorrow over there, talking about how to be a perpetual traveler on Bitcoin.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Bangkok.
And we're doing,
We're
the
doing
tax
taxes.
talk
We'll be
at
talking about taxes.
4:45.
Yeah.
Mine's gonna be way more
Fun
exciting than
stuff.
taxes. Mine's more